HUDHomestore.com, a home buyer's guide to purchasing a HUD home. Prepared by David Russo, broker-owner, Audubon Realty, LLC in Louisiana. Today's goals. What is FHA? FHA Loan Products. What is a NAID? Navigating HUDHomestore.com. Understanding the sales contract. Good Neighbor Next Door program. Lead-based paint. And answers to all your questions. What is HUD's mission? HUD's mission is to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and quality, affordable homes for all. HUD is working to strengthen the housing market to bolster the economy and protect consumers, meet the need for quality, affordable rental homes, utilize housing as a platform for improving quality of life, build inclusive and sustainable communities free from discrimination, and transform the way HUD does business. What is FHA? An FHA loan is a mortgage insured by the Federal Housing Administration, a government agency within the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Borrowers with FHA loans pay for mortgage insurance, which protects the lender from a loss if the borrower defaults on the loan. Because of that insurance, lenders can offer FHA loans at attractive interest rates and with less stringent and more flexible qualification requirements, including a minimum down payment requirement of 3.5%. HUD-owned properties are FHA foreclosed homes. FHA case number. This is HUD's property identification number, unique to each property. It will look something like this: a 3-digit sequence, hyphen, and a 7-digit sequence. FHA Loan Products. FHA 203B, no appraisal repairs. FHA 203B with repair escrow. Appraisal repairs that are less than $10,000. FHA 203K is the rehabilitation loan. We'll refer to all three of these loan products throughout this presentation. What is a NAID? N-A-I-D. A NAID number is a unique name address identification number issued by HUD. Brokers must register with HUD to receive a NAID number. The same NAID number is used by all agents within the brokerage. The process takes several weeks to complete. The NAID must be renewed annually. Licensed real estate brokers who are registered with HUD may show HUD properties and submit offers for buyers. NAID information is found under the NAID application tab in HUDHomestore.com. So tell me again, where do I find HUD homes that are for sale? Easy. Simply go to www.HUDHomestore.com. HUD properties are listed within the listing broker's MLS too. The only exception to this are homes designated in the lottery listing period. We'll cover that later. So this is how it will look. When you go to HUDHomestore.com, click on the state of Louisiana because that's where we are, Audubon Realty. When you see the list of results, click on the FHA case number. That's the link to the right of the photo. This will take you to detailed property information which is specific to that property. Understanding property details. Property condition codes. We'll refer to these throughout the rest of the presentation. IN, insured property. All properties listed as insured are available for FHA financing. The originating lender is responsible for making the final determination whether the property meets minimum property standards. IE, insured with escrow repairs. A property must have less than $10,000 in required FHA repairs to be an FHA 203B insurable property. The repair requirement is based off the appraisal ordered by the buyer's lender. UI, uninsured. Properties listed as uninsured means that repairs or improvements exceeding $10,000 are required. These properties may qualify for FHA 203K financing, which is the Rehabilitation Loan Program. Buyers may also opt to purchase with conventional financing or cash. See your lender or agent for more details, or if you're in Louisiana, contact us at audubonrealty.com. If you want to be an owner-occupant, we'll restate this a few times throughout the presentation because it's very important. If you want to be an owner-occupant, this must be your primary residence for 12 months, and you cannot have purchased a HUD home as an owner-occupant in the past 24 months. If you are a parent buying a home for children, you are an investment buyer. Falsifying HUD documents is punishable by up to a $250,000 fine and 2 years in prison. Something else that's super important, bid submission deadlines. You will see this in the details as you go through the bidding process. You want to make sure you see the eligible bidders. One example might be owner-occupants, nonprofits, and government agencies only. We'll cover the other options later in the presentation. Pay attention to the bid submission deadline, and sometimes, as we know, it comes down to the wire of a few hours, so pay attention to the time zone as well. There's also a countdown clock for the bid submission time remaining. Exclusive listing period. Exclusive listing period for FHA insurable homes is 15 days. Bids coming in on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday will be grouped together for the asset manager's consideration on Monday. Bids coming in on a federal holiday will be grouped with the previous day's bids. Bid submission dates will be extended for bids made on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Bids for an earlier listing period are considered separately from bids from a later listing period. For detailed information on bid submission, please go to the HUDHomestore.com Help tab under Broker Agents. But wait, if I'm an investor buyer, when can I bid on a HUD home? The exclusive bid submission deadline, date, and time are listed under Listing Information on the Property Details page. For IN and IE statuses, the investor buyer can bid on the property after the exclusive period has expired. Most often, that will be on the 16th day on market. Eligible bidders types include owner-occupants, nonprofits, and government agencies only, good neighbor next-door participants only, nonprofits and government agencies only, and all bidders. The Addendums tab. This is where you will find important documents pertaining to the property. They include lead-based paint addendum, property condition report, repair disclosure addendum, buyer select closing agent addendum, and sales contract package. Let's talk for a bit about lead-based paint. If your loan type is FHA 203B and the property was built prior to 1978, upon contract execution, HUD will procure a lead-based paint inspection. If deteriorated lead-based paint was identified in the report, HUD will perform stabilization if the cost estimate is $4,000 or less. If the cost estimate is greater than $4,000, HUD at its sole discretion may 1. Cancel the sales contract, or 2. Allow the purchaser to amend the contract financing to FHA 203K or conventional. In the event that HUD cancels the sale, the purchaser will be entitled to a 100% refund of earnest money. The purchaser shall have the right to review the inspection report, paint stabilization plan, and cost estimate. If the cost estimate is $4,000 or less and the purchaser is dissatisfied with the information provided, the purchaser may withdraw from the contract and receive a full refund of earnest money by providing written notification to HUD of the intention to withdraw. If deteriorated lead-based paint was identified in the report and the purchaser does not exercise their option to withdraw from the sale contract, HUD will stabilize the deteriorated lead-based paint in accordance with the stabilization plan. In addition, HUD will obtain a third-party lead clearance by the close of the escrow period or any extensions thereof. If your loan type is FHA 203K, remember that's the rehabilitation loan, and the property was built prior to 1978, at closing the purchaser shall receive a credit in an amount not to exceed $4,000, representing the seller's contribution toward the cost of stabilization and clearance testing. The credit shall appear on the Form HUD-1 settlement statement and shall be deposited in the 203K repair escrow account. If the actual cost of stabilization exceeds the credit provided, or if the property fails a clearance examination, the purchaser will be responsible for any additional cost. The purchaser shall have the right to review the inspection report, paint stabilization plan, and cost estimate. If the purchaser is dissatisfied with the information provided, the purchaser may withdraw from the contract and receive a full refund of earnest money by providing written notification to the seller of the intention to withdraw. If the property has damaged plumbing, the water will not be activated for an inspection or appraisal. If the property does not have damaged plumbing, water can be activated for inspections only. If the buyer's appraisal requires active utilities, the appraiser must go to the property while utilities are active during the approved inspection period. Repair Escrow Disclosure Addendum. HUD's FHA appraisal may include required repairs. Since repairs cannot be made to a HUD home prior to closing, the buyer will escrow for the repairs. The Repair Escrow Disclosure Addendum is an outline of repairs as determined by HUD's appraisal. This is for informational purposes only. The cost for said repairs may not be accurate and in fact may not be listed. Your buyer's lender will order an FHA appraisal, and any repairs noted on that appraisal up to $10,000 must be escrowed by the buyer. The buyer will make the repairs after closing. The appraiser will confirm the repairs are complete and the buyer's escrow funds will then be returned. If the appraisal required repairs are greater than $10,000, the property is deemed FHA uninsurable, but an FHA 203K loan can be obtained. Remember, that's the rehabilitation loan. Buyer's Select Addendum. The purchase contract is eligible for participation in the HUD Buyer Select Pilot Closing Agent Program. It is the responsibility of the purchaser to choose their own escrow closing company. HUD will not pay for the escrow closing service. It will be the responsibility of the purchaser. Buyer Select Closing Date Extension Policy. If the closing date stipulated in the contract cannot be met, the purchaser or purchasers may request an extension of the closing date. Extensions of time to close are at the seller's discretion and, if granted, will be under the following guidelines. The request for extension must be received by the asset manager no later than 5 calendar days prior to the expiration date of the contract. The extension will be granted for a 15-day calendar period. The extension fee for a 15-day calendar period will be $375, $25 a day. Let's move on to submitting a bid. In the property details, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll see options for HUD registered bidder and submit an offer. This is where that NAID number comes in. NAID verification for sellers, brokers, nonprofits, or government organizations. You'll see the drop down there with the red asterisk for NAID type and for the NAID number, and of course the little CAPTCHA link. All fields with a red asterisk are required. You will not get this far unless you do have that NAID number. Again, fill this out as completely as possible. Review and then submit. Review it twice, please, because you don't want to have to go back and add addendums to change any mistakes, especially the Social Security numbers, first and last names. Bid acceptance. When your bid has been accepted, it is conditional on receipt and review of HUD sales contract package. The sales contract package must be received by Kronos Solutions within 2 business days of acceptance. If bid acceptance is received on a Monday, the contract package must be received by Kronos Solutions on Wednesday. If bid acceptance is received on a Friday, the contract package must be received by Kronos Solutions by the following Tuesday. There is zero tolerance for contract package error. This includes a big detail. The sales contract must be signed in blue ink. Let's talk about how to fill out the sales contract package correctly. Information provided in the sales contract must match the information submitted in the bid. If a correction is needed, fill out the contract package with the corrected information and include an addendum which explains the correction. Corrections can include buyer's name spelled incorrectly, buyer's address is incorrect, buyer's financing type is incorrect. You cannot change the terms of the contract. Next, we're going to cover all of the items included in the sales contract package. Let's start with the information page. This must match the accepted bid. Reference your bid confirmation, which can be found in your HUD Home Store account under Review Bids. Title style, as a single person, as a married couple, etc. Selling agent broker information must match what HUD has on file on the most recent broker NAID renewal application. Closing agent escrow company information. This is buyer's choice. Escrow officer's email should not be a generic business account like closings@abctitle.com. It should be to a person's name. You will need to ask the title company for their title ID and state license numbers as well. On the sales contract, properly formatted names when there is more than one purchaser. John H. Doe and Mary P. Doe, not John H. and Mary P. Doe. No assumptions are made. We need the full name of both people. If buyer is a corporation, LLC, etc., the sales contract package must include their legal entity state documentation as well as confirmation of signing authority. Financing type if going through FHA, FHA 203B, FHA 203B with repair escrow, or FHA 203K. Could also have cash, conventional, or other financing not involving FHA. Seller will pay reasonable and customary buyer closing costs up to 3%. That's customary for the area. If these costs are not addressed in the accepted bid, HUD will not pay any of the costs, including the title and closing fee. Owner-occupant purchaser must occupy the home as their primary residence for 12 months and cannot have purchased a HUD home as the owner-occupied buyer in the last 24 months. Discount at closing might include the Good Neighbor Next Door program, nonprofit organization, etc. The sale will close not later than 45 days with an insured or uninsured financed offer, not later than 30 days with a cash offer, and not later than 60 days with FHA 203K financed offer. Social Security numbers must be accurate. Again, before you hit submit, verify that. Conditions of sale. Assessments are prorated to day of closing. Seller makes no warranties or representations concerning the condition of the property. It is important for a buyer to have a home inspection. We will state that again. It is super important. Get the home inspection. If FHA insured financing is used, $200 of the cost of the home inspection can be financed into the mortgage. The lender letter is now included in the sales contract package. Seller may cancel the contract if it is determined that there are title issues that seller is unable or unwilling to remove. No repairs can be performed on the property prior to closing. Buyer cannot take possession of the property prior to closing. Risk of loss or damage is assumed by seller prior to closing. If property is being offered with FHA insured financing, seller's acceptance constitutes a commitment to insure. Buyer understands that seller's list price is seller's estimate of fair market value. Defective lead-based paint is defined as cracking, scaling, chipping, peeling, or loose paint on all exterior and interior surfaces. Lead-based paint inspections are now performed and paid for by HUD on properties built prior to 1978 and that are being financed with FHA insured financing after the contract has been ratified. If an LBP inspection was performed prior to contract acceptance, the results will be disclosed by HUD. The effective date of the contract is the date it is signed by seller. Reminder, falsifying information is a felony. Electronic filing of HUD 9548. HUD 9548 is the sales contract. All parties certify, warrant, and represent that no content of the HUD 9548 contract has been altered or omitted in any manner. It is true and accurate copy. Broker and buyer have read and understood conditions of sale and acknowledge that no contract or binding agreement exists unless and until the executed HUD 9548 is returned to the purchaser. Falsifying information is a felony and punishable by a fine not to exceed $250,000 and/or a prison sentence of not more than 2 years. For your protection, get a home inspection. The buyer has a 15-day inspection period from the date the purchase contract is executed. Owner-occupant certification. Buyer must occupy property as their primary residence for 12 months. Buyer cannot have purchased a HUD-owned property as an owner-occupant in the past 24 months. Broker certification is required on this form. Selling broker commission addendum. This is for the full and complete satisfaction of any compensation due the selling broker. Purchaser's rights and responsibilities addendum. This includes the condition of property, the importance of a home inspection, 15-day contract cancellation contingency for owner-occupant, applicable to FHA 203K financing. Other important information. Keys are not provided to buyer or selling agent. Forfeiture of earnest money policy. Failure to close will result in forfeiture of earnest money except in the following special exceptions. Owner-occupant. 100% will be refunded in these instances: death in the family, recent serious illness that alters buyer's ability to purchase, loss of job or income at no fault of the buyer, HUD determines insured sale purchaser is not an acceptable borrower, uninsured sale, pre-approved purchaser is unable to obtain financing and for other good cause as determined by the field office, owner-occupant where 50% will be refunded, uninsured sale, despite good faith efforts, buyer is unable to obtain financing, owner-occupant 100% will be forfeited in cases where no documentation is submitted or documentation fails to provide an acceptable cause for buyer's failure to close or documentation is not provided within a reasonable time following contract cancellation. Kronos Solutions must receive documentation within 10 days following contract cancellation. For an investor, uninsured sale, none. Uninsured sale where HUD determines purchaser is not an acceptable borrower, 50% will be returned. Buyer select closing agent. Closing date extension policy. Extensions at the time to close are at the seller's discretion. BSCA extension request form. Cause of delay. Must be received by asset manager no later than 5 calendar days prior to contract expiration. 15 days extension are subject to a fee of $375 in certified funds. At time of closing, unused fee is prorated to the buyer. Granting of initial extension does not obligate seller to grant future extension request. Extension fees will be retained by the seller if the closing does not occur. Radon gas and mold notice and release agreement. HUD-owned properties are sold as is. Seller has no knowledge of radon gas or mold in, on, or around the property other than what is described on the website of the seller or otherwise made available to the purchaser. Radon is an invisible, odorless, gaseous, radioactive element. Mold is a general term for visible growth of fungus. Real estate brokers and agents are not qualified to advise purchasers on radon or mold treatment or its health and safety risks. Purchasers are encouraged to obtain the services of a professional to conduct inspections and tests regarding radon and mold prior to closing. Flood zone addendum. For properties located in the FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area, purchasers agree if using FHA financing and flood insurance is available through the National Flood Hazard Insurance Program, they will obtain flood insurance throughout the duration of their ownership. Coverage shall be equal to or greater than the replacement value of the improvements as indicated on the appraisal. Purchasers agree to make flood insurance a condition of any future sale. Buyer select closing agent contract addendum. It is the responsibility of the buyer to choose their escrow closing company. HUD will not pay for escrow closing service. Authorize Kronos Solutions to release a copy of the sales contract and all addenda to the closing agent escrow company listed on the form. It must match HUD 9548 sales contract line 9. To be eligible to close HUD transactions, the closing agent must have a minimum of $1 million in error and omissions insurance. HUD closing instructions. This will include general settlement instructions for the closing agent escrow company and must be signed by the closing company representative. All 5 pages of the closing instructions must be included in the contract package. Utility activation procedures. Utility activation is the responsibility of the buyer. Utilities can be activated for a period of no more than 72 hours. A cost of $125 will be collected from the buyer prior to approval to cover the cost of re-winterizing the property. This is only between October 1st and March 31st. Kronos Solutions must authorize all utilities to be activated before the utilities can be turned on. Let's talk about the Good Neighbor Next Door program. HUD offers certain single-family properties for sale to police officers, pre-kindergarten through 12th grade teachers, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians at a 50% discount. HUD requires the GNND buyer to sign a second mortgage and note for the discount amount. There is no interest or payments on the second mortgage provided the buyer fulfills the 3-year occupancy requirement. After the buyer lives in the home for 3 years, they can sell the home and keep any equity and/or appreciation. If the buyer moves out of the home prior to the 3-year requirement, they will have to repay HUD on a prorated schedule. Lottery listings only will include homes designated in the Good Neighbor Next Door program. These homes are in this program for 7 days. Further requirements that the buyer may not own a home as a primary residence in the 12-month period prior to submitting the bid. They must certify that it is their good faith intention to remain employed as a law enforcement officer, teacher, firefighter, or EMT for 1 year beginning with their purchase. Single unit homes, townhomes, and condominiums are available in this program as well. Buyers can use FHA, conventional, VA financing, or cash to purchase the home. HUD does not pay buyer closing costs in the GNND program. The list price is the purchase price. The 50% discount is taken from the list price. Revitalization areas are designated by HUD and authorized by Congress and are intended to promote the revitalization of that area through expanded home ownership opportunities. GNND participants contribute to community revitalization by becoming homeowners through this program. If more than one GNND bid is submitted, the decision as to which offer is accepted is based on a lottery drawing, as all offers will be identical. Earnest money deposit requirement is an amount equal to 1% of the list price, but no less than $500 and no more than $2,000. HUD does not pay listing or selling broker commission on properties sold in the GNND program. However, HUD will authorize up to 5% commission to be paid by the buyer to the selling brokerage. Keys. As a reminder, keys are not provided to the buyer or selling agent at closing. Thank you for watching this presentation from Audubon Realty. Additional information can be found on HUD.gov, HUDHomestore.com, or reach out to us through our website, audubonrealty.com.